Module 3, MOOC Content Production, Lesson 2, Open Educational Resources. In this lesson, we aim for you to understand about searching, finding, and assessing the quality of open educational resources. What are open educational resources? Are resources which are freely and publicly available, teaching and learning resources, and sometimes also research resources, which have been either in the public domain, either created with the intellectual license of Creative Commons, and they are mainly able for you to use, reuse, mix, and share with the others. Open educational resources can be found usually in open educational repositories, and the repositories more common are OER Commons. Obviously, the most famous ones, which is valid and available since 2002, MIT OpenCourseWare, and also the Merlot one, which is not the one, but a very famous open educational resource repository. Other part is the open educational authoring tools, which are tools which allow you to create images, videos, animations, which have the metadata and the licenses included and embedded, and the ability of sharing as open educational resources. The most important part of the open educational resources is how you combine them and how you create them and allow them to become open educational practices, which include also the students and also your peers and technology and collaboration. So in this graph, you will be able also to see that by enabling with the support of technology and the correct use of technology, the open educational resources, you move to open teaching, you also move to open collaboration when you work with your students and your peers, and also you to open assessment when you use open educational resources or tools or practices in the assessment process. It is very important for you to know how to find open educational resources. For this, you need to develop search abilities, which will include also strategies and also different search engines, some dedicated to open educational resources, to identify and then to assess different open educational resources, which can be either text or images or video or audio. For this, obviously, the best will be if you can plan this search. You need to understand from the beginning the question which you need to answer to. And this question needs to be obviously related to the learning achievement and to the learning goals of your course material. You need to know what is the existing information and what information is needed, and also how much of this information is needed, and in what type of open educational resources you will need. Probably just a text, probably just an image or a video or animation, or even something else like an augmented reality released with OER licenses and Creative Commons licenses tool. Open educational sources is done usually in defined open educational search engines, but also in the general ones. The most important thing is that you need to use precise keywords, you need to have a clear search strategy from the beginning, and we support you by giving you some recommendations in this table of different open educational resources, repositories, and also other MOOC platforms, which are massive and open online courses, where you can find a lot of resources and information which are either free to use or reuse, or sometimes even to remix. To be able to use open educational resources in your courses, you need to know how to evaluate and to assess the quality of those OERs. One of the most important key to identify the quality is obviously accuracy and authorship. You need to know exactly the source of the information, and if it has all the metadata also to be able to share it and remix it. One of the most important things which you need to identify in the OER is also if it is really fitting your purpose, if it really fits into your course, and if it is authentic and also accessible, because the most important thing in the open educational resources is that also they are usually very accessible ones. When you are analyzing open educational resources, you need to remember the 5 R's, which are very famous for assessing open educational resources. The first one is retain. Are you able to reuse that and to include that open educational resources, to save it and to reuse it then later in your virtual learning environment? Reuse. Do you have all the metadata, and does it has all the licenses for you to make it available for anybody else, or including yourself, obviously, to reuse it. The third one is revise. Are you able to add something, to change something, even sometimes just to translate that open educational resources and then included it further? Remix. Can you add something else? Can you take only one slide or one video or one screenshot from that open educational resources and include it in your own teaching material and teaching resource? And then obviously redistribute. We always advise that if you have used an open educational resources, then share it with the others, redistribute it with the others, because that will only create that circle of sharing which will encourage open education. Some of the tools and the adaptability tools and the authorship tools and also the searching tools, you will be able to find them into a step-by-step guide which is in the document and in the resources which are available in this lesson. We encourage you to have a look and also to take those activities because they are really valuable and comes from several years of experience on using, sharing, and also creating open educational resources. When you know how to create an open educational resources, you create an exchange of open education resources. And here, beside obviously the repositories and the information and the quality of the data which you have, two information are very important. The first one is the metadata. The metadata, which is the hidden data included in a digital resource, which will allow anybody to identify and to track that resource back to you, and also you will know exactly where it is and how it is used. Obviously, the second bit is the Creative Commons license. As open is the Creative Commons license which you are allowing and attaching to your open education resources, as much that open education resources is going to be used. You will be able to publish and also author different open educational resources, and we have several tools available for you and information also into the material which you can find. In this lesson, we learned about how to find, search, and validate the quality of open education resources, and we encourage you now to identify at least 2 open education resources which are useful for your course and to comment them in the forum.